Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So it seems like the hype is all around the Assassin rework right now because I feel like I'm making quite a bit of videos regarding that topic, but Riot just keeps releasing new and interesting information. And it seems they have done so once again because now it has been confirmed that LEBLANC is not only getting a rework for the Assassin update, but is going to be a part of the Big Four, so expect some pretty major changes happening to her kit. So as usual throughout this video, I'll be going over all of the information that we currently know about her upcoming rework. But before we jump into that, there's another piece of information that I think is absolutely fascinating, and here it is. The fourth major rework assassin that they have not yet announced, because there's only been 3, LeBlanc, Rengar, and Talon, is an AP assassin. So I want you guys to guess in the comments below, which AP assassin do you think is the fourth and final major rework for the Assassin update? I'm gonna guess Fizz, but again, that's just completely a guess. Alright, so let's talk about the direction that Riot is going to be trying to take LeBlanc. All in all, they still want to keep her as that tricky type champion, the one that can fool opponents and essentially be very deceiving. But their goal is to emphasize that even further, to the point where it actually requires you to essentially trick your opponents rather than just simply going on top of them, using your Q ultimate and probably bursting someone down. So the first thing that they're doing is something they've been doing to pretty much every assassin so far. They want to extend LeBlanc's, in this case, burst window. Or in other words, a term you're all probably very familiar with, add more counterplay to her burst potential. And from what I understand, based on reading even further, they want to again increase the burst window, but at the same time, give her even more tools to deceive her opponents, so even though they have more time to react, they won't necessarily know how to react because of all the deceiving things that you can now do with the champion. The second thing is what I briefly touched on a little bit earlier in the video. Give LeBlanc active deception tools. So one of the things they point out specifically is her passive, which I honestly do agree with. I mean, yeah, you know, when you go invisible, it's pretty cool, and yeah, it's kind of annoying to deal with, but at the end of the day, it's really not all that deceptive. The clone just instantly starts running in a direction that just seems like a bot would do. It overall doesn't really seem like it helps deceive your opponents at all, and it's kind of lazy of an ability. On top of it being essentially a passive effect where it automatically activates and you don't really have all that much control over it. So they're trying to do things where they're either concealing information so people are maybe really confused as to what you might do next, and or give false information to your opponents, again with the purpose of just being as deceiving as possible. And based on how you now utilize these new deception mechanics on LeBlanc, you can make a lot of different plays and approach a scenario a lot of different ways. So for instance, you can deceive an assassination and make them think that you're actually about to kill them when actually you're really not, or you can do the kind of opposite thing where you make them think that you're not gonna kill them, but then suddenly you do. And the third and final major direction they're trying to take LeBlanc with this assassin update is to try and ensure LeBlanc brings unique strengths to her team. This is sort of building off of the second point, giving her more active deception tools. They really want to focus on LeBlanc being the assassin you pick when you want to be as confusing as possible. They state how not many assassins at the moment can really confuse their opponents while also assassinating someone at the same time. There are examples like Zed and Shaco, but they state how LeBlanc can go much further with it. And they state something that I think is actually really cool, the last sentence of this point. A powerful and versatile deception tool would also have many uses outside teamfights, especially if the deception can occur without LeBlanc's presence. I don't know, that last part, without LeBlanc's presence, just sounds really cool, and I can only barely imagine what they're adding to her kit that can make her deception just so insanely awesome. But there you guys have it, an idea as to how Riot is trying to make LeBlanc or rework LeBlanc for the Assassin update and the direction they're trying to take her. But as usual, before we end off the video, let's go through several comments made by Rioters that I personally thought were very interesting. And here's the first one. The question was, are you going to replace any spell completely? And the response is as follows. I don't think so, but it's hard to say for sure. We're more likely to move some secondary elements around, the Q mark for example. So it seems like they're not 100% as to how they want to change it yet, but I mean, the fact that they're saying that they want to add so much new deception to her kit and make her so much more trickier, I think it'll be hard not to change at least one spell around that's not her passive. But on the flip side, the next comment is actually pretty cool, because this comment is telling us that the reworked LeBlanc is going to have many more combo options in which she can execute her abilities in what order, again, to fit her fantasy of being a deception champion. But then he also says, plus whatever learning the deception tool requires. So deception tool, those are the key words. Clearly, to me at least, that means that there is going to be some form of new mechanic or some new, obviously, tool that is going to be added to her kit to seriously emphasize the whole deception act and how she should be played, which I'm very curious to see what it'll be once they announce it. But one thing that they have announced that they're changing so far is the fact that, first of all, they're not going to really change Distortion, her W ability, too much. But what they are going to change about it is give it that Z feel where you can't take the W back to your initial location instantly. So when you use your W to a certain location, you'll have to wait maybe a second or half a second or so before you can finally go back to your original location. Now, a common problem with LeBlanc is that her W feels like it's probably the most important ability by far compared to her Q and her E. Because as stated by SpiderAxe, her W is pretty much her gap closer, it's her main burst tool that you use in the laning phase, it's her main wave clear spell, it just does too many things, so if you ever have your W on cooldown, you can't use it for several other things. And it does seem like Riot noticed this, and they are probably going to be changing it around so her W isn't such a primary spell in her kit, and maybe add other wave clear to her other abilities. But a lot of people are most likely wondering, how does this change LeBlanc's difficulty of actually being played? Because at the moment, she's fairly easy to pick up, but she's very difficult to master. And according to this, it does seem like her difficulty is still going to be about the same, if not even more difficult. Which to me is actually a really good thing, because I do feel like assassin champions for the most part need to be fairly difficult. They're not supposed to be easy type champions to play. Now the next comment seems to be quite the big one, but I only want to focus your guys' attention on a very specific part. And this is just backing up what I said earlier, and it states this. There's also the new deception tool, whatever it will be. It's meant to help LeBlanc survive during this period, and it needs to be able to do that job. And LeBlanc's cast times will often cover up the delay anyway, contrasted to Zed's instant E, so it's unlikely to be felt as keenly as Zed's. Just giving you more information to understand that, yeah, there is going to be some really cool and interesting new deception tool or mechanic within LeBlanc's kit. And to add a little bit of more information regarding the new deception tool, they're also trying to make it so, again, like I said earlier, like her current passive, it doesn't just happen because it happens, because you have no control over it. Instead, they want to give LeBlanc players more active control over when and how the deceptions occur. So it's not going to just be, yeah, you fall down to 40 or whatever percent HP, it happens, boom, there's nothing you can really do about it. No, now instead, you have control over it, which will obviously make her a little bit more difficult to play, but it's a lot better. And the last comment I want to share with you guys is this. We currently aren't planning on any model changes, but she will be getting some pretty cool new visual effects. This means that LeBlanc's model and her actual character will look pretty much the same thing, if not exactly the same, but her abilities and how they look like will most likely be vastly different from what you currently see on the live servers. So there you guys have it, a whole bunch of new information regarding LeBlanc. Now I'm sure a lot of people were wondering, is she going to be touched? Is she going to be reworked? And is she going to be part of the bigger changes? That is now all finally answered. We have a pretty decent idea as to what we can expect from the actual rework when it finally hits the live servers or when it's finally revealed. So let me know down below, what do you think about Riot's direction towards LeBlanc and how they want to change her up in the Assassin rework or the Assassin update? As usual, if you end up enjoying this video, let me know by hitting that like button. Make sure to share this with your friends so everyone has an idea that not only is LeBlanc getting some massive changes, but she is going to be part of the Assassin rework. But I truly thank each and every one of you for watching, and I hope to see you for the next video. Peace.